Hi, I'm Laura.
And I'm Steve.
We're a recently retired couple who love to travel.
So we flew.
Just a brief introduction for those of you who are new to our channel. We, like I said, recently retired. We sold our house, got rid of all of our belongings, and are now working on our bucket list by traveling.
We're making these videos of our travels as our journal, our family history, and to share our adventure with our kids, friends, and anyone who's interested. So we welcome you to join us.
Venice is always listed as a must-do stop in Italy, but you hear stories of stinky canals and crowds, and you might wonder, do I really want to go there? We've heard these concerns too, but we had to go. Here's our experience.
Venice is a must-do city in Italy for its unique architecture and vibe. It's a city that is the destination rather than art or architecture or history as the destination.
At the first sight of the Grand Canal, we pinched ourselves. Are we really here? The canals are used to move both people and goods, so there could be a lot of traffic on the water. We were there in April, which according to the internet, the shoulder season, spring and fall, are the best times to visit to avoid the smell.
And we didn't experience any unpleasantness with the smell. The canals are everywhere, and the only kind of transportation other than your 2 feet is on the water, so be ready to walk a lot. We learned this the hard way. We've been traveling around a bit in European cities, and we've been getting pretty good at figuring out the buses, the subways, the trains. We knew Venice added in the water taxis, but figured that was in addition to the local buses or taxis, not completely replacing them. So we got off the train at the station serving Venice, and we're looking around for a bus or a taxi or some way to get around to our hotel room, only to finally figure out we had to take a water bus to the nearest stop, walk over the Rialto Bridge with our luggage, and drag our luggage down the cobblestone streets for several blocks to get to our hotel.
Venice is very walkable, which is good, because like we said, there are no cars in the city center. Most of the streets are just too narrow. Plan on crossing lots of bridges, and at every turn, enjoy the views that are unique to this city.
Getting around, there are several forms of transportation. Of course, everyone knows the gondolas. That's a great way to see the Grand Canal and some of the smaller canals. If you're with a group, the cost is per trip, which makes it more affordable. But if you're looking for a romantic cruise down the Grand for just the two of you, it'll be around 90 euros. And if you want to go in the evening, it's even more. The water taxis are another way. These are beautiful wooden boats that go up and down the Grand Canal as well as the smaller canals. They're motorized. They range in price, but will take you right where you want to go. Our experience with them was around 20 to 40 euro.
Another way to get around is the Vaporetto, or the water bus, which is similar to a city bus. Tickets can be bought ahead of time, and you can get a multi-day pass or an all-day ticket. These have a set route and time, and this is the least expensive way to get to and from the airport. It was about 10 euros each to get there. The traghettos, which are the last way we're going to cover, are an older stripped-down gondola, and they are the cheapest at about 2 euros each, which you have to have cash. These are only used to cross the Grand Canal. The canal itself has 4 bridges and 7 traghetto stops. These do stop running in the evening, so make sure you have a way to get back if you use these to go out in the evening.
Whichever way you choose to travel, traveling on the canal is magical. As the Roman Empire was crumbling and Germanic and Hun invaders were looting and pillaging, refugees fleeing these invaders escaped and hid in swampy islands off the coast of the mainland. They found this region to be easily defensible, and slowly, over the years, they drained the swamps and built the canals and bridges that connected the 118 small islands that make up Venice today. Eventually, it became a powerhouse known as the Republic of Venice that ruled a considerable area for 1,100 years, starting around 700 AD and lasted until about 1800 AD. For a time, Venice was the most prosperous city in all of Europe, relying heavily on trade and banking, and dominated the Mediterranean commerce. and you can tell how prosperous it was by the buildings that we're showing you. Its political system was unique also. It was a republic. There were 12 founding families that created and held positions in the Council of 10. They elected one to be Doge or Duke, the chief executive for life. There was a Senate-like assembly made up of between 200 and 300 nobles. The Black Death played an important role in the city's decline, hitting them twice within 50 years and each time killing a third of their population.
On to a little bit cheerier topic. Our hotel building was built in 1288. It had no elevator or air conditioning, but it had a lot of charm. We went there in April, so the air conditioning wasn't really an issue. We also had a shared bathroom, so if a private bathroom is important, check the listings carefully. We were near the Grand Canal and the fish market, which also had fresh produce in nearby stalls. There were lots of restaurants to choose from, and we enjoyed walking around and looking at the shops, especially the mask shop. We were not allowed to take any photos inside, but the masks were amazing. Masks have been a part of Venice for nearly as long as Venice has existed. Carnival is celebrated every year in Venice, and masks have played an important part in their society. Venetian nobles had a very strict pecking order, and mixing with those not of your class was frowned upon. Masks were worn a lot to allowing a certain level of anonymity to occur. This allowed the wearers to engage in activities that were normally illicit and to mix with those not of your class. There even became laws governing how and when and for what purpose masks could be worn throughout the year. This practice continued until Napoleon's conquest in 1798, when mask wearing was outlawed. It remained illegal until the 1970s, when a group of students and the Italian government began to promote Venetian Carnival as a way to promote tourism.
We went to Venice, not expecting to see very many churches beyond St. Mark's Basilica, but it seemed like around every corner there were lots of churches, and we stopped by as many of them as we could.
But St. Mark's Basilica is the most magnificent and beautiful church in the city's main square. The artwork inside is as gorgeous as the architecture is on the outside.
Also at the town square, the Doge's palace is where the Doge or the head of the government lived and where government took place and ruled. We were able to see the various rooms and learn more about their society. There was much to be desired about the political structure of Venice and some to be alarmed at. They had their own secret police that would investigate complaints lodged in the Lion's Mouth postbox, which are slits in the walls for people to put anonymous denunciations against anyone who will conceal favors and services or hide the true revenue from them. It could be used to complain about garbage in the canals or accuse an official of taking a bribe or to denounce a neighbor for not being honest. Sometimes this led to innocent people being imprisoned.
The prison in Venice is infamous, difficult to survive, and nearly impossible to escape. One famous prisoner, Casanova, was arrested by the secret police, imprisoned without trial for an indefinite amount of time. His crimes? He paid too much attention to the ladies. He owned illegal books and was suspected of being a spy. He was the only man known to have escaped.
A famous landmark in Venice is the Bridge of Sighs, where prisoners could take their last look at the sky and canal and beautiful city as they were led to their cells. Sometimes they got a second chance to see the city on the bridge as they were taken from the prison to the public square, where they were executed between the two pillars in the square. Like in many places of Europe, the bridges here have become attractive to lovers to place a lock on the railings to declare their love for each other. Whatever happened to Hallmark cards?
We also learned a lot about gondolas. Gondolas take 8 different kinds of wood and several months to build. The base cost is about $43,000. Of course, more elaborate gondolas can cost quite a bit more, but they do last between 20 and 25 years. They're 35 feet long and weigh about 1,100 pounds.
A gondolier can make up to $150,000 a year, so I'm thinking about a new career. In the old days, gondoliers passed from father to son. Now prospective gondolieri must go through stringent training that includes rowing and swimming tests and lasts 12 to 18 months of training, so maybe not.
We booked our gondola ride for the morning we were leaving Venice. This was also the morning it decided to rain, and it poured. We got drenched on our ride, but on the positive side, the canal wasn't too crowded.
True. We took a water taxi to the airport. It took you right to the terminal. It was perhaps the most unique and amazing trip to an airport. You get off the boat and walk into the terminal, where we then flew to Athens for our next adventure.
So, are we glad we went? Yes. And after looking through our photos and videos, we'd go again. I feel like we saw everything we wanted to see, but we just love sitting in a cafe and watching the canal go by.
If you like this video, please like and subscribe and leave us a note. And as always, happy travels.